Hello, hello, buenos dias, and welcome. We are incredibly thrilled to have you here. Some of you have been coming down from the sound art info session that we just had, so some of this might be redundant, but I'm so glad you're all here, and we'll definitely hope that you will go to Open Studios, which is from 2 to 5, just across the street. So please make sure you have time in your schedule for that. I'm Mia Masaoka, and I'm the chair of the Visual Arts Department, and I'm the director of the Sound Art Department. This morning, we are going to introduce you to the program and the faculty, and then explore any questions that you might have towards the end of the session, including with our financial dean, Julie Dobrow, who is going to be joining us, and you can ask her questions towards the end of the session. One thing that is really amazing, an opportunity during Open Studios, which is from 2 to 5 across the street in that crazy looking building, is that you have a chance to ask the students questions. And we really suggest that you can, asking them questions about their work, their process, their methodology with materials, how they philosophize about what they're working on, what they're thinking about, what their experience is with the interdisciplinary aspects of our program, and questions about what it's like to be a student here. And they're there and they're in their studios with their work. And so it's a great opportunity. And now is a great opportunity to ask us about the program and questions related to the program, questions related to the financial aspects, which Julie will address. So that being said, we're here this morning, and the Columbia Visual Arts is structured for interdisciplinary learning. We encourage collaboration. Prospective students apply to the discipline or disciplines that they employ in their work, and these include expanded practice, sculpture, moving image, painting, photography, and printmaking. We have a total of 54 students in our 2-year program, and there are 27 students admitted each year. It's a very competitive program. Once accepted, MFA candidates have the option, but they're not required, to explore a wide range of media while developing the skills to articulate their individual vision. And this can be flexible as you curate your own courses that you choose to take. You curate your own electives within the broader research University of Columbia. It can include philosophy, acoustics, architecture, the art history. It can also include Barnard with the permission of the instructors. And we will emphasize time and time again that the rich community is one of the main reasons for earning an MFA here and anywhere else, but here in the heart of New York City, it's especially rich intellectually, artistically, culturally, thinking of how many different languages are spoken on the subway, how many important museum and institutions are here, how many galleries are here, how many curators are here, how many artists have made their careers here, how many art movements have begun and developed here. So it's that goes without saying that being a program in New York City is without competition. The Columbia MFA faculty is made up of the faculty, the students, your cohort, and alumni. And our program is small, and therefore it's very flexible, and it's responsive to what you are interested in. I just 12 hours ago, I jumped off the airplane where I was doing talks and studio visits at the Art Institute of Chicago, and they, for example, have 900 students. It's a very different kind of program. We have a 5-to-1 student-teacher ratio, which affords each MFA candidate valuable time with the full-time faculty and allows the program to respond to the students' interests and needs. So I will repeat that. It's a 5-to-1 relationship, ratio of student to teacher. So that enables a really close connection, discussions, deep conversations, and thoughtful interactive exchanges that can take place with such a low ratio. These are lifelong relationships that are formed in this setting. Students participate in the multifaceted curriculum with full-time and visiting faculty, while critics, artists looking at each other's work and visiting established artists in their studios work intensely with artist mentors and taking elective offerings in other departments across the university. So now we'll go across this table and I'll ask our faculty to introduce yourselves, please. Can we start at this end?
John Kessler, head of Sculpture Expanded Practice.
I'm Naeem Mohaimin. I'm the head of the photography concentration.
Matthew Buckingham, professor in the program.
And I'm Mia Masaoka. I direct the sound art program and I'm chair of visual arts.
I'm Delphine Fawundu, and I'm the Director of Graduate Studies.
I'm David Antonio Cruz, I'm head of painting.
I'm Thomas Vu, and the head of printmaking.
Thank you. And there are some who are not here today, and that would be Delphine Arthur, Kenny Rivero, Shelley Silver, Sable Smith, Sarah Z, and Ritgrit Tiravanit. So they're also on our faculty, and let's go to the other current part-time visiting faculty. And this year it includes Shirley Bahar, Kabir Carter, Tyler Coburn, Daniel DeJulio, Matthew DeLeggett, Liz DeChanis, Lizzie DeVita, Serena Khan, Ajay Kurian, Dana Locke, Zoraida Lopez, Orly Malka, Phoebe Osborne, Tyler Rowland, Niama Safia Sandi, and Pamela Sneed. In the materials that you've been given, you'll also find a list of current and recent visiting critics and visiting artist lecturers. So now we'll look at how our graduate program is structured. And I'll turn things over to Delphine, our Director of Graduate Studies.
Okay, good morning, and thank you all for being here with us. So our core curriculum comprises of 5 components. We have the Graduate Studio Research and Practice, which involves weekly studio visits, and those visits are one-on-one. We also have small group critiques, which are usually a mixture of 6 to 7 students. And then we have visiting arts lecture series, which is programmed and run by students and 13, which includes 13 guest speakers. Then we have our critical thinking in visual arts and at the university at large, so which means that you can take critical thinking courses from the various departments within our university, which is really a plus. Then we have the graduate discipline seminars, and the graduate discipline seminars are on rotation, which happens within each discipline. So you'll have a photography one, painting, expanded media, and on and on. And then we have the Artist Mentor Program, where you are assigned 2 mentors throughout your time here, and you meet with them for 1 full week each semester. So it's almost like, rather than having that weekly course, it's a whole semester condensed in a week, and it is quite amazing. Our current mentors are Linda Good Bryant, William Cardova, and Valerie Hammond, who does a group together, Ishmael Houston Jones, David Humphrey, Michael Jew, Matthew Ritchie, Shazia Sakanda, Micheline Thomas, and Rona Yefman. Our MFA students also take electives in the various studio classes that we offer, and professional practice, as well as, again, university classes. And when you think about how vast Columbia University is in terms of what we offer, I mean, we have students who has taken courses in history, art history, and the sciences, you know, as much, because each practice is driven by so much that it's one of the real pluses of being here. And then there are 3 moments in the program where our students make their Works Public. And that's our first year exhibition, which happens in March. And then this afternoon, Open Studios, which you all are welcome to come to. And then in April, our thesis exhibition, which is our culminating show after the 2-year program. And there are other opportunities in the program as well. We have Gelman Visits 5 to 6 a year. And that's when a group goes and visits an artist studio, which is also another expansive way to engage into the rich dynamic art community that we have here in New York. Then we have Friday sessions where the students get a modest budget to create workshops or do whatever it is that they would like to do that may not be in the curriculum, and it's all student organized. We also have teaching assistantships for 2 classes. So during your time as a MFA, you will be a teaching assistant. And I must say that it is, for those of people who are interested in teaching, it is a way to really gain those experiences. And then there's collaborations with our art history curating. We have the Neiman Gallery exhibitions, program awards, summer residencies, the Dean's Research Grant. So you have the opportunity to apply for research over the summer or winter breaks, the breaks that we have. And there is a modest grant that you get to support maybe travel or research to extend your practice. And then there's undergraduate mentoring, which is also exciting, where as a grad student, you have the chance to work with a student for the whole semester. I am an alumni, and I did that, and I'm still in contact with the person that I was mentoring during the time. So Columbia is really about community, and you'll find that being here, you'll be connected to alumni, and then you become alumni and you're connected. So it's this growing community of artists that really, really is rich and dynamic. So your experience extends beyond the 2-year time of an MFA program. And then also there's our sound art program, which we're working adjacent to. And so there are times like when you may take courses in sound art if you like, and sound art students are also taking courses in visual arts. The joint program with the Columbia Music Department and the Computer Music Center is directed by Mia, who you just met. And 3 students are admitted each year and 6 in total. And I'll go back to you.
Okay, and so now I would like to introduce you to Julie Dobrow, our Dean of Admissions and Financial Aid, to give you more details about applying and scholarship funding.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming today. And for those of you on Zoom, hi, we see you. So my name is Julie Dobrow. I'm the Dean of Admissions and Financial Aid at the School of the Arts. I am also an alumni of the theater program, and I've been working here since 2008. So I really do love this place. It's a very special place. So first, I just wanted to introduce myself, obviously, and then the other members of the Admissions and Financial Aid staff. These are the people that, if you have any questions over the next couple months when you're submitting your application or your financial aid application, we're the ones who are around to help you, and I'm very excited to do so. So it's me and Kenny Wong, who is our Director of Admissions and Financial Aid, and then the 2 people who checked you in downstairs, Niquette Johnson and Tori Sheffer. So please know that we are the ones who are responding to those kind of generic email addresses, SOA Admissions or SOA Fine Aid, and we will get back to you as soon as we can, but we are here to help. Just a few important dates. The application is due on January 14th. That is a hard deadline at 11:59 p.m. Obviously, if you have some kind of emergency, some crisis you're dealing with, then certainly let us know. But otherwise, we ask you to respect that so the admissions committee has enough time to review all of the applications. There's also financial aid applications. So I want to make sure this is very, very clear. If you are in need of scholarship support, please apply for it. It does not have any reflection on whether or not you are accepted to the program. The admissions committee does not look at your financial aid application. They have no idea what your need level is. So please don't be shy. If you are in need of financial aid, please submit the applications. If you're a domestic student or a permanent resident, there are two applications. There's the FAFSA, which you probably know from undergraduate. That's the application for federal aid. And then we also have what we call the School of the Arts financial aid application, which is our own application. And we ask international students to submit that one. So international students are eligible for the same aid that domestic students are. And that application is due on February 4th of this year. And again, the application process is need blind. We're going to have a Zoom session exclusively focused on financial aid. That's going to be held on December 18th at 7 p.m. So we will send you guys information about that. But if you have questions about the process, about the application, et cetera, we will be online to answer those at that time. And just a few details about applications that people, tend to find interesting. We tend to have around between 550 and 700 applications per year for the visual arts program. And there are 27 spots, so that's a selectivity rate of around 8%. 85% of incoming students this year received scholarship support with an average scholarship award of $28,000. But there was also TA compensation in addition to that of $6,700 and also a service position, which we'll talk about in a little bit, of $4,000. So that's on top of the scholarship support. So that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free. At the end, we're going to have a Q&A. And those of you on Zoom, you can put them in the chat. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie. And now we're going to open up the floor to all of you for any questions related to financial aid, related to the different faculty here. And after this Q&A section, we will break up into the disciplines. And so that'll be another time to also speak more about the disciplines. But this is a chance to ask questions that you might have about the program, about we have Julie here in person, about anything at all. So please, hands, we want to hear your questions. We want to hear. Should we run out and give them the microphone, or what's the situation? Yeah, because then it will get onto the Zoom, or is there a
We
microphone?
have one coming, I think.
Okay, great. So I know you guys must have some questions there. You're sitting there, you're thinking, should I do this? Should I not? What do I like? What do I don't? What about that? I got this thing. How much do you?
So I have one online right now. The question is there any mentorship program for prospective students or any resources that we can access a part of information on that on the website?
You want to take that?
Mentorship.
Meaning, as you're applying?
What was the question again?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I mean, it says for prospective students, so I'm guessing
Okay.
that's what they're asking.
Yeah, so if you have any questions, they could definitely email faculty, particularly within the departments, or you could email me actually, and then I could answer as much as I can ahead of time. But we can't help you through your application, but we could answer questions that you may have about the program that might help you as you're approaching the application.
Great. And over here? And then you, I see you.
Hi, I was wondering in terms of applying when you're already working with multiple mediums, but there seems to be concentrations. Do you apply with a specific focus, but then have the possibility of changing mediums, working within multiple mediums?
Yes, you can apply. I strongly recommend that you apply where you think your work is strongest with that medium, or where you have a body of work that you feel relays strongest within that media. But once you're accepted, you could take courses, or you could, whatever you do in your studio is what you do in your studio. No one is going to hold you to a specific medium. Our program is truly interdisciplinary. And as you will see, when you go into our open studios, you probably won't know who entered with what most of the time. So definitely it's, we're interdisciplinary at heart. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can apply in more than one department if you like.
Can you take the mic, please?
I'm working with photography and installation, and they go hand in hand. So for example, which department or which program that would
If
be?
your work reads as photography and it's installed, I would say apply there. As it's installed, that's what we see. I would recommend that you apply there.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
if
you.
you feel like it reads strong there.
Okay, we have a question here, and then I see you over there, and secondly, you. Go ahead.
Oh, wait for the mic.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's a pleasure to be here. Quick question. How far along should an individual or applicant be in their, I guess, discipline or work? I'm assuming, is it from beginner to experienced or how, or it varies? Just curiosity, I guess, on portfolio, right? How do you evaluate someone's portfolio?
We're going to share the answers.
Sure. Well, we're very focused on what the work is, and the ideas in the work, and the question of relevance to going, wanting to get an MFA. Like, what is the motive? We're interested in you as an artist, so it's very wide open in terms of who applies and what we look at. We treat every application equally in terms of time and thinking about what the artist is working with. So it's very open. Yeah.
Okay, we have a hand here, and then I see you over
Sorry.
here with the glasses, and then you. So that's four. I might mix. Okay, there was a question here on this side. Right, but she's then after that person.
Thanks. Kind of a follow-up question about how the interdisciplinary, two-part question. One is for the application. When you're applying as one discipline, is it reviewed by the faculty within that discipline, or is it reviewed by everyone? The second question is for critiques. The group critiques, is it totally, are we critiquing as a whole school, people from different discipline? Or is it like within the discipline also that applies to sound art? Like if you're a sound artist, are you in critique with artists in the School of Art, or is it just things like that? Thank you.
The first question, just about the admissions committees, they are composed of faculty from different disciplines. So even if you apply through the discipline, someone from another discipline will also be looking at it, because that's how we teach. So we mix that up.
I was just going to add something that also is related to the earlier question about where to apply. Photography in particular often gets people who do that and something else. We also do have a practice sometimes that one concentration may review the application, but if we feel it's also a good fit for another concentration, we'll also consult with other concentration. And, as Delphine mentioned, strongly recommend everyone should go to the Open Studios. You're already here. You may not know what concentration people are, but it'll be useful to ask them. And especially for the second years, you'll often find that people have now added on something beyond what they already entered with.
And I'll address the part about sound art, which is when we choose our mentors, the adjunct professors, and also the visiting artists, they often have a grounding in their practice on sound, but often it is also interdisciplinary. And we do have another question here. I'm sorry if I don't remember. Can we have
There was a question.
Oh, yes, you also asked about group critique. So the group critique is, you'll have several cycles of group critique throughout a semester. And so it will be with a small group of students from different disciplines. So that's interdisciplinary as well. And the instructors also, and coming from usually multiple disciplines. So it's not a full school exhibition or full class. Yeah, it's definitely smaller.
We had a question with the mic, and then I see you back there, and then over here in the gray sweatshirt. So we have 3, and then 4. I see you. Okay.
Hi, my name is Angela. It's so nice to meet you all. I attended Barnard for undergrad, so it's nice to be back on campus and seeing you guys. My question was relating to portfolio material. I'm wondering if the admissions committee and faculty is interested in more so seeing a cohesive body of work that tells a narrative in terms of maybe style or medium, or if you prefer to see some aspects of experimentation, since it is a very interdisciplinary program. So I'm wondering if there is a preference for either or both. Thank you.
It's such I'll tell you this, when we look at your work, we're looking at the portfolios first. That's usually where we go first. And so it's really about what you're thinking about as an artist right now. Like, what is bringing you to graduate school? What is the work that you feel you want to, maybe a research that you want to expand on? So your portfolio is more so about being able to communicate this idea cohesively. And so I wouldn't say, it's one or the other. It's really about where you are as an artist and how do you communicate that visually through your work. And I will say this for people here and on online, something that we've seen trends in people trying to show us more work by creating these PDFs. Those we don't want to see. It's a deterrent. Don't do it. Really think about the amount of slides that you have and how can you really share something strong about where you are in your practice and why it's important for you to be here for those 2 years. What do you think you're going to get out of it? Where are you? And that's really what we're looking for.
Okay, we have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi. So going back to this same question, I was advised, I've been talking to a lot of people recently, and I got the advice that it's not, that the committees don't necessarily want to see completely finished work, that I should be including work in progress as well. And so I wondered if you could elaborate on that, what that looks like if you're in a transition right now, place in the work.
So we're not going to necessarily read the statements until you've gone through the first pass of looking at visual work. So you should know that. We're not going to necessarily know that something's not finished. When you say work in progress, I think it's more important to us that you show us a body of work that you have completed. If there's a large work that you're working on that is not finished, somehow you need to communicate that to the committee so we understand that. But if we're only looking at a portfolio of works in progress, it's not going to impress us that much,
Right,
I
but
would say.
one can mix it, like if I have definitely like several bodies that are completed and, still in progress, but then also new work on the horizon. So I don't know if I should be including that into the portfolio.
I think the crux of the portfolio should be works that are finished.
Okay.
And works that you stand behind. And if there's a work that you're in the middle of constructing, sure, add it. And maybe that adds to your question about experimentation.
Right.
Don't be afraid to show us, an adventurous portfolio. We're not necessarily looking for finished artists to bring into our program of, gallery-ready people. At some point, we want to feel that you are, experimenting and have a practice that that is somewhat adventurous and not necessarily a totally slick package. I think that might work against you in some ways.
Okay, we have a question here. 1, 2, and then 3 in the pink. One.
Okay,
Oh,
hello.
one at the front. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
They're
No,
the
no.
same.
okay.
What?
So my question was, what level of professional experience do most students have before joining? Is it common for students to have exhibited their work or held residencies, or do some enter directly from undergraduate programs?
Who wants to take that?
Anyone? So are you asking about the experience level? I missed the first part of the question.
Yeah. Yeah, like I guess, yeah, like is there a large majority that do residencies or have exhibited their work in some galleries prior to applying, or is there a majority where they come straight from undergraduate programs?
We have had students from undergraduate programs, so it's not the thing that usually, people who get accepted into the program have been working as an artist and has experience, and that voice is kind of in between being developed. They're at that critical stage where they need to develop it more. So we've had both. So I think that's really something that you think about as someone who is applying. If you are right out of undergrad, is this where I need to go now? I think that it is good to get some time working as an artist before you apply. It's a rigorous program and you might get more out of it if you start working as an artist and thinking what it is, and then you're like, oh, I really need critical feedback. I've been working on this thing. I need to develop this voice. Now I need to go to grad school. So yeah, it's definitely something that you think about before, even whether it's this program or any other program, even if they say, we'll take you right out after undergrad, I think it's really important for you to start developing your voice before you apply to an MFA program.
Thank you.
We had a question up front, yeah.
Hello, thank you. I had a question about the interdisciplinary nature of the program, and I would imagine in a program like this, it could be easy to get like lost in the sauce in a way. It's so much like experimentation possibilities. Is there a focus on like kind of breaking down the first year and then the second year kind of coming back together in preparation for your thesis, or do you encourage people to kind of hold their shape all the way through? Is there a certain pedagogy in that sense?
It's really about the work. And I would say that we encourage the deepest relationship you might have with the work. And if that means working in different mediums or moving from one to another or experimenting with something, that's great. That's definitely possible in our program. But on the other hand, sticking with one medium and going as far as you can with your ideas with those ideas, those tools in that medium is also completely supported. I think the interdisciplinary part is most important in terms of having the range of artists that exist in the world looking at your work and giving you feedback, talking about it, thinking about it. Being among a community of artists who are working in every possible medium is really the foundation part of the interdisciplinary aspect. And then there's the exploration or the deep dive, I would say. John wanted to answer.
But I would also say, in answer to your question, that is a very typical, not lost in the sauce, but it's a very typical trajectory of our students where the first year is a lot of experimentation and a lot of questioning. And very typically, I mean, this is a 2-year program, and very typically, all of those sort of questions and experimentation and adventurousness usually does congeal in a different way in the second year. And I've seen this, this is my 31st year here, and I've seen that over and over, and that's kind of what I would consider the most successful grad story, is someone who comes here because they've run up against, I mean, they've decided to go to grad school because they've run up against a wall in their work. They need help. They need a community. They need faculty who are going to really sort of like be astute about their practice. A faculty that's going to listen to what they want to do and help them do it. But it's not unusual to have first year students who are somewhat destabilized. Hopefully we don't, I would say in my time here, there's been very few that have been destabilized for 2 years. It's usually the first year.
Thank you.
Any more? Oh, okay. Here and then in the back.
Hi, yeah. I was just wondering what kind of career paths that graduates take besides maybe teaching positions or practicing artists after they graduate here.
Teaching is obviously the one thing for which you do need an MFA. But obviously, as you know, there's far fewer teaching jobs than graduating. In terms of what people have done, I mean, some people go straight into a path of showing with a gallery or eventually showing with a gallery and they're just doing their work. But most people do need an additional workspace. Most typical has been to be working with an arts institution of some kind that is enhanced by having gotten an MFA. So in photo practice, for example, it's very typical for people to be working with a photo organization such as Black and White on White or Dougal or any of these places. And then the space of nonprofits arts organizations is a very large employer in New York City. So that's another typical place that people go. It is very typical to try to get not a full-time job, but a part-time job, because most people understand that they still need to have enough time left over for their studio practice. Yeah.
I can also add that we just had a student from Sound Art who got hired full-time to be the full-time assistant of Paul Pfeiffer. So it's such a rich community of artists, installers, curators, programmers, administrative assistants, grant writers. So within the arts community as a whole, there are many, many jobs that are possible as arts. So it's very diverse.
I think we should move to some of the online questions just because they won't have an opportunity to ask any later. Once we break up into concentrations, there'll be plenty of time for you guys to ask additional questions. So these both kind of go together. Would you say the teaching at Columbia leans more theory-based or technique-based technique-based in the classes for the MFA program? Could we hear more about pedagogy, maybe how some faculty go about facilitating or moderating crits?
Delphine David. Everyone's asking.
It's both. It's really both. And so the crits are really led by different artists. So each artist, every professor has their own style in working with students. So, yeah, it's very individualized in the way we work with students. But mainly, it's both. It's really dealing with theory, your ideas, and your practice, and the craft of it, actual making of it.
Julie had another question online.
Yes. Several people are asking about recent work versus how far back they can go. Sure. So the questions are, is it more important for portfolio pieces to be recent or cohesive? Do you want to see only recent work? How far back can we go with the work we submit?
I would say don't go back to anything that's closely to undergraduate work. That's a big no-no for us. I mean, we can read these things. Sometimes we see, and we do want you to have your voices, but not that far back. I mean, stick with what is the strongest work that you have and the most current work. I think that you can't go wrong if you focusing on that. And especially with printmaking, we don't need to see all the 20 techniques that you can do. Just give us a body of work that you believe in.
Okay. May I know if we should add any textual description on the portfolio and if each image should be one work only or if we should put several works as a collection on one slide? Getting very specific.
Please do not put lots of images together. It's as one image and certainly not as a document, portfolio document. This just makes it very difficult to understand what we're looking at. The most important thing, I think, with the application in terms of what you've already heard from all of us is that we understand what we're looking at. It's a digital interface. We're looking at everything projected quite large as a group. We look at everything together. So we need to be able to understand what we're looking at. And the written components, all of the written components in the application format are places where you can help us understand exactly what we're looking at in terms of materials, when something was made, and in the description, what it means to you. The other written component that's important usually in what we have as a kind of second round, looking at the work, thinking about the applicants, is in your statement, which is it's often a very enjoyable part of the application process for the committee to hear that voice in language and think about your ideas at that level. And so that's something also to think about in terms of this question.
Just one more thing to add, that if you do get selected for an interview, during the interview, we also ask you to speak about one or two or three of the images. So you do have the opportunity then to zoom in on the image most representative of your work and talk in even more detail.
You're also able to bring in new works for your interview, so you can talk about more current work in your process. When it comes to painting, I would say that show only details if they're really important for us to see, versus showing little sections of your work. It's important that we understand your work, but you want to take up as much slides to show as much work as possible to describe your practice versus focusing on small little sections.
All right, we have another question that came in. Could we hear about facilities and the system to access them? For example, I couldn't find information about whether you have ceramics.
Who wants to take that? John?
I'm not sure I heard the question.
Oh,
Say it
could we
again, Julie?
Yeah, could we hear about the facilities and the system to access them? For example, I couldn't find information about whether you have ceramics.
I'm hard of hearing. I'm still not hearing the question. So
Yeah, how to access facilities, and do we have ceramics?
how do we access information about the facilities that we have? Okay. Yes, we have a ceramics area. We have electric kilns. We don't have gas kilns. It's open to all the graduates. So as long as they have taken the training, and that's true of the metal shop, that's true of the wood shop, that's true of the plaster room and the mold making room. So there is safety training and a certain kind of gatekeeping that we have for the shops, but all grads have access to it. You have access to those shops during monitor hours, and they're not 24/7 shops, I should say. So that is no longer part, but your studios are 24/7, but the shops are not.
I think, do we have more questions? Are we ending this period in a?
Let's do one more question, and then we
Okay.
can break out into disciplines and then ask any discipline-specific questions you may have. So how can non-traditional students, i.e. no BFA or full-time work in the art field, demonstrate success in the application process?
Yep.
That's
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So this is about non-traditional students. If they don't have a BFA, how can they demonstrate their success in the application process?
I would say your portfolio. Like, it really, just to be blunt, we're going to see your portfolio before we learn anything about you. And that's when the portfolio is going to grab our attention, and then we're going to have questions. And then that's when we're going to go into the statement, into the CV, the notes that you've left for us about the work. So a strong portfolio, and again, going back to the idea of where you are as an artist and why you're seeking an MFA, where are you in the point, you have questions, you need to be pushed, you need a community, all of those things is going to read through your portfolio. So that's the strongest thing. That's what it is. And blow us away with that portfolio, then it's kind of oh, they don't even have they've been doing this, it's about the work. It's really about the work.
And I think, Matthew, you had a comment.
Oh, nearly the same, but then of course, also in the statement, we can think about any life experience or, what's relevant to the work and why you want to do grad school.
So your statements, every time that you have the opportunity to write, it's answering questions that we have. We are actually asking those questions. And one of the most disappointing things is when we look for it and we're like, wait, it's not here. So use that opportunity to really tell us about who you are, and it's more so about us learning about you rather than making it how it's supposed to be for an application. So really use that time so we get to know about your work and who the person is behind this work and why they should be a part of this community.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And thank you all for your questions.